Oh, hi, you guys. I'm on. There we go. Hi, can anybody hear me or see me? Let me know if I'm on. Okay, starting again. Okay. Hi, everyone. Hi. Can you see me? Hi. Can you? I saw your hand raised. Not sure who you are. I don't know if you can see me or hear me. There we are. Hi. Welcome, everyone. I'm Lulu Cook. Welcome to In the Rooms. This is our Nutrition and Wellness Hour. Had a little bit of a hiccup getting the text started and getting online. It is super to see a heap of you here. People are already queued up, questions raised. That's awesome. And we have some follow-up to do from last week as well. So excited to be here with you. What we'll do today, our topic is gut health and how our gut health relates with our recovery. Some of it is surprising, some of it is really common sense, and hopefully it'll be actionable for you. So we're going to talk about gut health, recovery, cravings, all of that. We'll define our terms. We'll talk about gut health and alcohol, gut health and mood, gut health and weight, gut health and what to do about it. What are the positive steps we can take to balance our bacteria there in the gut? And some cautions as well, answering your questions as we go along. So I'll invite you right now. If you have questions, please chat them to me. You can do that by clicking on the chat box. On my screen, it's the lower right chat. You could click there. You could chat me a question. I'll pick it up that way. You can also raise your hand and I will call on you and we'll try to fit those in as well. So I'm going to give you some information. It's kind of a mile a minute with me because I'm super passionate about this topic. And you might want to grab a pen and paper or just be ready to ask me any follow-up questions or follow up with me later. You can always reach me at lulu@gutfeelingcoaching.com. That's my email address, and we'll touch base on that again later. Yeah? We good? Okay. Happy to have you here. So, picking up from last week, we had a question about diet sodas and sugar and non-sugar sweeteners and teeth. And I went and I dived into the literature. I didn't really know the answer right off the hand. And here's what I can tell you. Both fully leaded soda and diet soda, they're both horrible for our teeth. For those of us coming off, I don't know, crack addictions or methamphetamine addictions, our teeth are probably already wrecked anyway. But adding in soda, whether it's sugar sweetened or non-sugar sweetened, they're bad for you in different ways. Not really the best choice for teeth. So that's just an answer on the question we had last week. Don't do it. Drink water instead if you can. Or milk. Calcium fortified soy milk would work too. Good for the bones, really strengthening it. I feel like most of us, like many of us on here, we've got a lot of women on here, we've got a few men. really for all of us, but especially for women looking forward, looking down the line as we age, as we go through our menopause, as we continue to want to feel strong and healthy. We want those strong bones, we want the strong teeth. So less soda, more water, more milk, more soy milk. Those would be good steps. Okay, on to gut health. Let's start with what is the impact of poor gut health on our recovery, on our lives. What happens when our gut is wrecked? Well, a few things. Right off the bat, we might notice we get bloating, we get discomfort, cramping, we're at the toilet more than we want to be. It either comes out way too fast or it takes way too long. It just sucks on a day-to-day basis when our gut is wrecked. And I have 100% been there, and I get it. It impacts our daily ability to function and, get to work on time, pick up the kids, all the things we do. That can be out the window when our gut health is not in a good place. For those of us in recovery, it's super important to know that our gut health impacts our cravings. The health of the population of gut bugs we've got going down there impacts how strong or how weak our cravings are, whether that be for alcohol, sugar, broccoli. Wouldn't we all love to have more cravings for broccoli? There's something we can do about that. So our gut health directly impacts our cravings. It impacts our mood and our energy. And we'll get into the reasons why for that. But having a healthy, balanced, really healthy gut gives us more energy and keeps us on a much steadier keel with our mood, with our mental health through the day. Weight and metabolism are both intimately linked with gut health. So we will get into the reasons for that as we go along. Inflammation, malnutrition, chronic disease risk for various cancers, type 2 diabetes, all of these are hand in hand with our gut health. So, what are the basics we're talking about? When we talk about the gut, we're primarily talking about the stomach, which is kind of higher than most of us imagine. And then we have the small intestines right underneath that, and then the large intestines and the colon down there at the bottom, ready to head on out the door. And each of those chunks of our body need to be doing different things to keep us strong and healthy. There is a powerful connection between our brain and our gut. This is through the vagus nerve, and sometimes it gets called the second brain or the enteric nervous system. Our gut does, because it's so intimately connected directly with the brain. So we need to really pay attention because that communication goes both ways. When we're talking about our gut, though, overall what we're talking about is the health of our microbiome, our microbiota. Those words get used interchangeably. They mean something slightly different in regards whether they're talking about the actual population of bacteria in there, fungi, yeast, or the metabolic and genetic follow-ups from it. Doesn't really matter for these purposes. You could read a blog article talking about the microbiome or the microbiota. Basically, we could think of it for these purposes. We're not doing a research study here. It all means the same thing. And what it means is our gut bugs. And I'll use that word a lot. I like it. It sounds friendly to me. I like gut bugs. So that's the bacteria, the yeast, the fungi that we have primarily in our small intestine. We might have some in our stomach. We might have some in our lower intestine. I guess that was wrong when I said primarily the small intestine. Primarily the lower intestine, the colon heading on out the door. We actually don't want too much going on in the small intestine, because if we have too much there, that's leaky gut, which has been a controversial diagnosis for a long time. Kind of alt healthy, oh, you have leaky gut, blah, blah, blah. But more and more now, the science is showing that leaky gut really is a thing, and it's directly related to this overall system of health that we have going on. More so when we're in recovery than when we're out there doing the things we do. Yeah? So when we talk about the definition, the gut bugs, the microbiota, what we're really aiming for on a really broad level is we want a broad diversity of healthy gut bacteria in our gut, in our colon, in our lower intestines. We want more of the healthy guys, less of the unhealthy guys. In my head, I always kind of think of it as having like a neighborhood that would have different kinds of gangs. And you could have like a neighborhood that was run over with violent gangs with like guns and like the real bad actors. Or you could have a neighborhood that's populated with people who are in clubs to be the welcome wagon and to roll around and welcome everybody and help fix up the yards and fix up the gardens. We want more of those kind of healthy clubs and less of the violent gangs going on in our gut. And we'll talk about how to do that. The reason why it matters is because all of these gut bugs impact our immune system, they impact our cravings, they impact our mental health and resilience, they impact our weight. So they're just absolutely crucial and important. And part of the reason why is that they're both powerful on their own. All of these different populations of gut bugs, they're going to be powerful on their own, but they also release metabolites. As they go about doing their business in our gut, they release secondary chemicals, which can be pro-inflammatory or anti-inflammatory. They can be supportive of a positive mood. So much of our serotonin is manufactured by our gut bugs, so they can support our mood, or they can release toxins directly into our gut, which then is absorbed into our bloodstream and then is absorbed into our brain and just wrecks our mood and our resilience and our immunity and our well-being. Super important, guys. And again, before we move on to talking about the direct impacts, I'm going to talk primarily about alcohol and gut health. I think a lot of the folks on this call right now are wanting to be maintaining their abstinence from alcohol. So I'm going to talk about that for a minute. I also want to acknowledge that certainly the opiates have a significant impact on gut health. Other substances we might engage in, potentially even other behaviors we might engage in, could have that impact on gut health. We're not going to get so much into that right off the bat. But if you've got a question about it or a question about anything as we go along, please just raise your hand or go into the chat. Before we jump into gut health and alcohol, I'm going to grab the one person who's on the question box now, and we'll see if I can connect all the tech dots and get her to share. Hi. Hi, you're on.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, hi. I'm Lindsay. I'm from Chicago. I'm an alcoholic. I went to rehab in December, and before that, I had gastric bypass in 2015. I know that there's a lot of problems that a lot of people have been having with gastric bypass with transfer addictions, and
Yes.
I'm dealing with that right now. And I'm interested in finding out, before I had the surgery, I never was a big drinker, but after the surgery, it just hit hard. I went through 2 bad relationships, and it just went downhill.
Oh my gosh, Lindsay, thank you for sharing that. I 100% know that you are not alone in the group today, and in general, you're not alone with that. Yeah, maybe that's one of the side effects from gastric bypass that doesn't get enough advance attention. But those of us in recovery absolutely know that any of those kinds of procedures put you at higher risk for alcohol abuse down the line. Yeah.
Yeah, I gained 50 pounds from having the surgery, and I'm trying to lose the weight now, but it's just Like, my appetite is low, but, like, I have a craving for alcohol like no tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, some of what we're going to get into in just a minute when we go on to gut health and alcohol, that's going to pertain directly to you and to anyone in your same position. But I'll also say, I'll say, we don't really understand very clearly why gastric bypass type surgeries or bariatric surgeries, why they increase the risk of alcohol dependence later. Certainly there's those powerful hormonal impacts at the time of the surgery. That's why type 2 diabetes can just turn around almost overnight. It's why you get that weight loss, starting right away. There's that powerful hormonal impacts right off the bat. There's some research suggesting, like, kind of putting it out there, hey, maybe that extra weight came on because of certain psychological factors, trauma.
Oh yeah, when I went to rehab, they diagnosed me with PTSD, which I was like, you're nuts, and I was like, that's not me at all. Like, PTSD for me, when I hear that, is somebody who's been in war, but apparently it's psychological problems that I had when I was a kid.
Yeah. So there's some research trying to pull out and figure out, is it that once you have that gastric bypass, you don't have that same coping mechanism around the food or the emotional eating, that's not as available, so the coping mechanism transfers over to a different addiction. But honestly, the research is a little bit fuzzy about it still. It's still ongoing. And, my hat's off to those of you who are trying to be healthy, trying to be at a weight that feels good, that feels happy, healthy and high energy. And yet when you take the steps that seem like they support it, it can put you into risk for other reasons. So we're not going to go super deep in that today, but Lindsay, I appreciate you bringing it up, and I will put it down for a topic note for like a whole hour on a follow-up week. Yeah?
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Super glad you're here. Thank you.
Have a good...
Okay. Just hung up on her abruptly, and I apologize to any of you I do that with. I'm still getting used to the controls. So let's talk about alcohol and health for a minute. What is the direct impact of alcohol on our health? Well, when we have that drink, we're basically pouring a caustic, toxic substance down our gastrointestinal tract, and that causes damage. We absorb the alcohol primarily at our upper GI, our upper gastrointestinal tract. The intestinal tissue is a little bit of absorption in the stomach as well. But all of those tissues that come directly in contact with the alcohol, it's almost like they're being burnt or poisoned by the alcohol coming in. So there's a direct, immediate toxic impact there. And when we think more broadly about what is our intestinal lining doing, what are our gut bugs in the intestine doing, what are they doing? They're manufacturing a huge proportion of our serotonin. That's one of our happy hormones. The gut and gut bugs are estimated to produce approximately 90% of our serotonin. That, those of us who might be on antidepressants, we might be on SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Serotonin is a direct place of action for our mood and well-being. Our gut and gut bugs are 90% of our natural producers of that serotonin, of the tryptophan that produces serotonin, and even of our dopamine being the hormone that drives our reward signaling pathway, our motivation pathway in the brain. This is all hugely produced in the gut. And when we have that drink, we're directly pouring a toxin onto it. So that's not that awesome. We also find that when there's either just one-off alcohol consumption, I'm a normie, I have a drink a month, great. Every time I do that, I'm directly killing some of my healthy gut bugs. But for those of us who have crossed over that line, we're drinking more consistently, more regularly, always bringing in that alcohol throughout the day, throughout the night. That leads to a state of what's called dysbiosis. It means that our balance of gut bugs, the healthy population, the welcome wagon of gut bugs, gets displaced by more of those bad actors, more of the kind of violent gangs. So we get dysbiosis. We get an imbalance in the populations of gut bugs. We get alcohol-induced IBS. That's, IBS is so common. It doesn't have to be directly related to alcohol, but that irritable bowel syndrome, I've certainly worked with clients who the key change that they made was knocking off the alcohol. Stopping the alcohol led to a better day the next day in regards the bathroom. And for those of us who have alcoholism, who have that disease, maybe it's not as easy as I'll just stop because it gives me the runs. But good to know that sometimes that's as easy as the answer is for things like IBS, gastroesophageal reflux disease. Consuming alcohol impacts the acid secretion in our stomach, and so we can get GERD from that consistent alcohol consumption, and gastritis. That's an inflammation of the stomach and gut. So this one is super important. That consistent alcohol intake is 100% related with an inflamed gut, an inflamed stomach, and gastritis. Something else that happens along with gastritis for many, many people is what's called leaky gut. As I alluded to, it hasn't always been a well-regarded diagnosis. There's been maybe that medical model not really recognizing and honoring what people's experience is. And that's changing. We now have the science to back up validating what leaky gut is. Literally what it means is that your intestine the lining of your stomach and intestine should be really tight. It should be a really tight lining that doesn't let toxins or bacteria or anything bad through. It only absorbs nutrients. But with all the extra alcohol, that lining gets a little bit loose. And then toxins can directly enter into your bloodstream. They head pretty directly to the liver and also into the whole system and into the brain. So you end up with the liver having a higher toxic load just from the foods you're consuming, not even counting the alcohol, just the foods you're consuming, right? Bigger particles are getting through than are meant to get through. So your liver's working overtime. It's being directly poisoned. Alcoholic liver disease is associated with that leaky gut. That's ALD, associated with leaky gut, and also neuroinflammation. So our brains are actually becoming inflamed. Our whole system is becoming inflamed, and our brain is becoming inflamed. And that's neuroinflammation. And that's why leaky gut is associated with a vague symptom called brain fog. There are so many reasons we might have brain fog. It might be that time of the month. It might be that we're hungry or didn't sleep well last night. But if it's ongoing, if it's consistent, there could be a more specific reason for it. It could be associated with that leaky gut as a result of alcohol intake or other things. What else? Oh, slower or faster bowel motility. So it could be either way, pooping too much, too often, or not enough and too slow and really straining and having pain. So that bowel motility is directly related with leaky gut, with the impact of alcohol on our system. We had a question just came in around lectins and leaky gut. Lectins are a chemical in plants that helps the plants be robust. It's like a defense chemical, and there's been a very popular book sort of demonizing lectins. I'm not going for it. For most of us, eating heaps of fruits and vegetables is one of the healthiest things we can do. And getting microscopic about, oh, but this one has lectins or this one's not paleo. For many of us, that's not going to be helpful. We'll really just benefit from including more fruits and vegetables of every kind. And for some of us, we're going to be starting at a place with so much impairment. We've got the leaky gut. We've got the heavy-duty impact from the alcohol or other substances. And our gut health might be really, really wrecked. And so if we're in that far extreme, that's not a place I would ever start anybody with, I don't know, just switch to an all plant-based raw diet. No, like some of us will need to build back up to that place where we can eat a wide variety of healthy foods with no problem. We really need to focus on healing the gut first. But for many of us, we'll be fine to just include all the fruits and vegetables and not worry about the lectins so much. Question about whether we'll have the information available later. I have slides for all of these weekly seminars we do, so you can email me, lulu@gutfeelingcoaching.com, or go to my website, Gut Feeling Nutrition Therapy, and reach out to me there, and I'm happy to get you the slides or just have that chat with you to see how this pertains to you, because this is all really general information. It's not specific to any of us necessarily. But I'm always happy to share any of it. I have the references, like if I tell you there's science behind it and there's studies behind it, I have the reference for that. So if you're the kind of person who likes to geek out on the science, you can let me know and I'll send you those details. I want to pick up the pace because I want to be sure to leave some time for any comments that come through, any questions that come through, give you guys some space to talk as well. I told you I talk a mile a minute. I'm passionate about this. Let's talk about mood. Okay, so that's the big picture of what alcohol and gut health, why they're so closely related. Let's shift over to mood and what gut health has to do with our mood. I already mentioned that 90% of our serotonin is produced in the gut. Also, 50% of our dopamine. Both of these hormones or neurotransmitters impact our eating behaviors. They also are directly related with diagnoses of anxiety and depression. So, of course, when we're looking at the scientific evidence, we're looking at study populations that have actual diagnoses versus people who are just like, I feel depressed today. I feel depressed every day. That might be true. I'm not discounting that. But, of course, the research is looking at people who officially meet diagnostic criteria. So kind of that extreme picture, and anybody else, we might find ourselves somewhere on that continuum. So our gut health directly impacts our mood, partly through those hormones and neurotransmitters. And we see there's research showing that supplementing with appropriate probiotics, and what appropriate means will be different for each of us, but supplementing with appropriate probiotics in some data has an equivalent beneficial impact to being on antidepressants, being on citalopram or Celexa, for example. Equal impact in the study groups. This group's on probiotics, this group is on Celexa. Equal benefit. So that's kind of powerful for those of us who are looking for alternative ways or natural ways to support our mental health. We see that germ-free mice who do not have gut bugs, they don't have a microbiota because they're being raised in sterilized lab conditions, much more prone to stress, much more prone to activation of their HPA axis, their hypothalamic adrenal axis. That gets activated, they get stressed, they get anxious and depressed much more easily. And then if you take those germ-free mice and you implant a healthy gut population for them, their anxiety and depression type behaviors and eating behaviors decline to a more, quote, normal level. Kind of powerful. A lot of this research is in rodents, not humans. So we have to take it with a grain of salt and use our common sense and use our own personal experience and our own personal wisdom to start to suss out, how does this apply to me? Well, people at risk of poor mood, people who in this particular study were at risk of sliding right over that criteria into an official diagnosis of depression, including probiotic foods and probiotic supplements, led to improved self-reported mood, reduced anxiety, reduced depression, anger, hostility, aggression, reduced rumination, better problem solving. There's multiple randomized controlled trials. That's a really high level of evidence. Multiple randomized controlled trials showing all of these improvements in mood relative to having a healthy gut population, including probiotics in food or supplements. So that's persuasive, right? That might just be, hey, I'm struggling with mood. Maybe my whole family has mental health disorders or depression, and I just want to be proactive. Including the kinds of things that'll support that are going to do nothing but help. And we see that people in some studies, people who already have a diagnosis of major depressive disorder, and then they include the probiotic foods and supplements, the prebiotic foods, they have improved depressive symptoms from that. An Australian study, I'm located here in Australia, so it's 11 in the morning on a Tuesday for me. I know for most of you guys it's Monday evening. I'm always spooking Australia because I'm proud of us here. So an Australian study found that for people with diagnosed bipolar disorder, I'm not sure if it's bipolar 1 or 2, diagnosed bipolar disorder and high risk of cognitive dysfunction because of that or related to that, including probiotics, improved their attention, their executive function, and their mental processing speed. Yeah? And that's interesting because as we age, our processing speed declines, our wisdom, our big pattern thinking, that increases, but the actual processing speed declines. So even if we don't have bipolar or we're not at risk of that, we might think about that speed of cognitive processing and be kind of excited by that data. So moving on from food and focusing more clearly on cognition. So again, flagging, this is more in rats than it is people, but there is some evidence. This is a place where there's an avalanche of research happening now that we're doing those studies in people and corroborating them with rats with whom we have a ton in common genetically and metabolically. So it's actually a really good comparand for us. And what we see, this part is definitely the case for people as well. When we've got the healthy gut bugs, whether it's because of the foods we consume, our pre-existing health status, or probiotic supplements that we enjoy, those healthy gut bugs release metabolites. That's the almost like the waste materials that the gut bugs release. It's called metabolites. And the healthy ones release short-chain fatty acids. These are super duper for us. We benefit from it. Butyrate is one of the big ones. There's a couple others as well. Our healthy gut bugs are releasing these short-chain fatty acids that promote the integrity of our gut lining. Remember we talked about that earlier, that leaky gut with the not very tight seal on our gut lining. Short-chain fatty acids help keep it nice and tight. They don't let the toxins into the rest of our body. And what we see is that cognition, when we've got a good balance of gut health, we have better spatial navigation. For those of us who get lost leaving the driveway, this is good news. Better spatial navigation, better memory, better attention, better executive function. And this is due to some direct changes that our gut has in our neural pathways. Again, this is happening through that second brain, that mind-gut connection along the vagus nerve. We get these positive changes in the neural signaling pathways, different chemical signals going through as a result of having a healthy gut population. So we get all these benefits with memory and spatial navigating and that kind of thing. There's a lot of research going on now about whether probiotics can help reverse cognitive impairments, including in people who have bigger bodies and maybe really struggling in those extreme obesity kind of categories this is a high-risk category for cognitive dysfunction due to the overall systemic inflammation that some of these people may experience. And having a healthy gut, including the probiotics, that kind of thing, can help improve the odds of what that cognition is going to look like going forward. I'm going to take a breath. We're going to go into what we can do about it, what we can eat, what we can take. I'm going to call on Brandon and see, Brandon, let me call on you and try to put you on. There you are.
Hi, it's Brenda.
Brenda.
How are you, Lulu?
Good to see you.
Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, good. I can't hear you anymore, so I just want to make sure.
Okay.
I'm Brenda. I'm an alcoholic, and I'm also an overeater. I've been sober 4 years now, going on 4 years next month, actually. And so my digestive system has basically been on the fritz since I was about 20, so I'm talking about 25 years now of pretty chronic diarrhea ever since I was drinking heavily. I had hoped that would stop once I stopped drinking. It did not. Through the yo-yo dieting, that didn't seem to help. A year ago, actually 2 years ago, I ended up having to have my gallbladder removed, which definitely added to the problem because then I couldn't digest any kind of fatty foods, which then last year in 2019, I had gastric bypass surgery. So my system's been through the ringer. Fortunately, I'm 140 pounds down, and I've been sober almost 4 years. So I'm trying to get on track and trying to get everything together, but I'm still having these issues of urgently needing to go to the bathroom between 6 to 10 times a day. And 4 or 5 would be in the morning time, just in the first 2 hours of getting up, getting a drink, doing this. It doesn't even have to be food related. It could be sometimes as much as I'm going from the car into a store, and that walk will trigger, I'll have to go. So my question to you, I've been waiting to see a GI specialist. I've seen 2 in the past with no answers. I'm waiting to see another, but because of the COVID, I'm on a list, and who the heck knows. My question to you are, what are the differences between probiotics and prebiotics? I'm not really familiar with either one and what to ask about. And, this third specialist, I'm really hoping to get some answers so I'm not living in the bathroom anymore. Thank you for letting me share, and thank you for all your help.
Okay, I think we're back on me, not you. Brenda, thank you so much, and congratulations. That's some pretty awesome work you've done. Staying clean and sober and getting the gastric bypass, focusing on your health. Good on you. That's awesome. And I'm sorry it kind of sucks a little bit right now. So one thought that definitely came up for me is looking at Fodmaps. Those are fermentable oligo, di, fod, mono, and polysaccharides. It's a particular fibers in the diet that can be much harder to digest. And often going on to a low Fodmaps diet for not an extended period of time, but doing a strict low Fodmaps diet for a while, and you'd want to work with a dietitian or your gastroenterologist, something like that, behind it. In a case like yours, where it really is like a clinical situation. But doing a strict low Fodmaps diet for a month or 6 weeks, and then slowly reintroducing each of the different categories of fibers can be absolutely transformative for a pretty significant proportion of people who are struggling in that way. So that's just one thought I have off the top of my head. And then circling back around with that gastric bypass as well, I'll certainly do a whole hour on that in the next few weeks coming up and talk about some more of those details. And welcome to reach out to me. I said this to a past commenter as well. This is really meant to be very general information here, and I can kind of point you in the right direction, but you're so welcome to reach out to me. Just ping me with a little email and I'll send you any of my thoughts or ideas right off the bat. So that's lulu@gutfeelingcoaching.com. And Brenda, please do. I'm happy to just kind of be a sounding board as you're going into yet another consultation about this. But we do recover. We know that. Those of us with drug and alcohol addiction, behavioral addictions, we know that we do recover. And I know this from the clients I've worked with, I know it's possible for you as well. So have a think about, take a look at the Fodmaps diet, send me an email, and we'll try to get you a little bit more information so you're well situated going into that consultation. Thank you. Okay. Prebiotics and probiotics was one of your questions, and that's next. Talking about what are we eating, what are we consuming, and how does that support our gut health? So our gut bugs eat what we eat. We want a broad diversity of microbes, microbiota. We want a broad diversity, lots of different healthy populations in there. So we need to eat a broad, healthy diversity of foods because each of those populations of gut bugs is going to consume something different than the other ones. It's a two-way street. Also, the different gut bugs that we have going, some of them are going to extract more nutrients from the food that we offer. Others of them are actually going to produce those metabolites that are nutrients for us. So truly, this is a two-way street. We are interdependent with our gut bugs, and we want to take really good care of them and really, really love them up. Interesting, talking about cravings, the exact population, and we are going to come around to prebiotics and probiotics. That's the what to do about it. So don't give up on that, Brenda. But I do want to touch base. I think it's important for this group particularly. It's important for us to know how our gut bugs impact our cravings. And we could think about it like this. Each different species of gut bacteria has its own food that it prefers to eat. So if we get out of balance and we get too many of a particular kind of gut bugs, they want to eat a particular kind of food. It could be sugar, it could be particular fats, it could be fibers. We've got this big population that's kind of taking over a little bit and they like a particular kind of food. Well, guess what happens then when we stop eating that food? We talked about sugar last week. So let's say we decide to go on a no added sugars detox diet today. Yay! However, if we've had a lot of sugar coming in, we've got a big population of sugar-loving gut bugs. And when we go cold turkey there, they're going to freak out. They are going to be like, feed me, Seymour. I'm hungry. Yeah? So the actual microbial populations that we have directly drive our cravings. They do that through crowding out the gut bugs that like other foods. They do it through directly releasing neurochemicals through that gut-brain connection that communicate to us, ooh, 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 I need some of that. I'm hungry for some of that. I want some sugar. I just need a little sugar, or whatever it may be, right? But sugar's a big one. There's a lot of evidence on that direct connection. So they can directly drive the cravings, and they can also directly create a state of what's called dysphoria. It means withdrawal. It means detoxing. Those gut bugs who are now starving for their preferred fuel can release chemicals that directly lead us to feel anxious, hungry, on edge, uneasy, and like all we need in the world is a cookie, and then we will feel better. Even though we don't want to eat so many cookies anymore. We've decided all those cookies aren't that great for us. That's our mind thinking, but our gut bugs have a different idea. So it can be really helpful to know that those cravings are directly led in some ways by our gut populations, and that includes alcohol. Alcohol is a very high sugar beverage and directly feeds particular gut microbes. So then when we decide to stop drinking, good on us. That's a great decision. Most of us, that's a good decision. Quit drinking. Nobody sent the memo to are drunk gut bugs who just want more of those particular kinds of sugars, and they're going to make us really uncomfortable. So, they can change our reward pathways. They change the gut microbes can change what feels good and what doesn't for us, and they can directly change our taste receptors and how things taste to us. So, if I'm really accustomed to that high sugar taste and my gut bugs really love the high sugar taste, and now I'm trying to talk them into thinking that oatmeal is just as good as a cookie, nobody's falling for it, and it's not even going to taste that good. Whereas somebody who's got that more balanced gut profile might really be able to enjoy the natural sweetness and nuttiness and deliciousness of oats. But not us over here who are being overrun by our sugar-loving gut bugs. The other thing they do regarding cravings is the gut bugs, the microbes directly impact our hunger and satiety hormones. So ghrelin, peptide, YY, leptin, all of those hunger hormones directly impacted by what population of gut bugs we have on the go. So, how do we change those gut bugs and move them in the right direction? Such an excellent question. I think looking at the time, we'll get into weight on a whole different topic. I do want to say that there's a direct connection between our gut microbiota and weight, and that can be significant for a lot of us who are trying to stay in a weight range where we feel happy, healthy, and high energy. Honestly, I could keep talking about this for days. But what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to jump to prebiotics and probiotics. That's Brenda's question. That was another question that came in. So what do we do about it? Well, first is we include more prebiotics in our diet. Pre, meaning before life. Prebiotics are the foods that we can consume that directly feed our healthy gut bugs. So the prebiotics are food for the gut bugs. Probiotics are gut bugs. Probiotic foods have the healthy bacteria in them. Prebiotics feed our existing healthy bacteria. So I hope that's just like a super clear and quick answer on that. We want to balance those populations of gut bacteria. Remember, we want a wide variety of healthy gangs, healthy clubs of gut bacteria. We do that by having a diet that's heavily based in prebiotics. So those are high fiber foods. Our gut bugs, the healthy gut bugs, consume and thrive off high fiber. So that's vegetables, it's legumes, it's whole grains. All of these are amazing for our gut health. They're going to lead to more gut bugs that are releasing those short-chain fatty acids and the metabolites that are healthier for us. Having a diet that's higher in saturated fat, red meat, alcohol, added sugars, those are going to feed more of the gut bugs that release metabolites called TMAOs. And the TMAOs are directly linked with increasing inflammation, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. So some of us are going to just need to abstain 100%, no more beef, no more sugar. Others of us might be able to have a relationship of moderation with those. That's a personal choice to make. There's no one right answer for all of us. However, all in, it would be disingenuous, it wouldn't be honest to not just be really clear here. Eating more of the high fiber plant foods, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, that's what's going to feed your healthy gut bugs. Those are sources of prebiotics. On the flip side, then, we get the probiotics. That's when we're consuming things that are directly putting healthy bacteria into our system. Many of us are going to think of supplements right off the bat there. That's okay. Those might have a place, but probiotic foods, put the foods first. We get so many benefits from them. So those are the fermented foods. It's the sauerkraut, the kimchi. I have an amazing, super easy 5-day sauerkraut recipe. Ping me, send me a note, email me, lulu@gutfeelingcoaching.com. I will send you the 5-day sauerkraut recipe. we're all just sitting at home. What better do we have to do than sit around and watch cabbage ferment, right? Happy to send you that recipe. So sauerkraut, kimchi, tempeh, that's fermented soybeans, kefir, Greek yogurt. These are double wins. The kefir and the yogurt are like triple wins. They provide calcium for our bones, like we talked about at the very beginning. They provide protein, muscle strength going forward, and also provide those healthy probiotics. They directly provide healthy bacteria into our system. So let's see, what did I miss? Sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, tempeh, natto, miso, kombucha. Although you have to read the label, the kombucha could have quite a bit of added sugars in it, and it could have a small residual alcohol content in it. So you want to read the label on that. Those are foods we can consume for a probiotic effect. Important to know, probiotics don't actually colonize our gut. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of advertising around that. Most of them don't actually colonize our gut. They're not going to move in and start reproducing. But nonetheless, consuming them has a beneficial impact on the populations that are already there and can help crowd out the bad guys. So that's a good thing. Including probiotics increases neuroplasticity, and it changes our gene expression, our genetic expression around cognition, thinking, and mood. So including those probiotics is like, it's super impactful at every level. So of course we want to look to get those foods in regularly. We might also look to consume probiotics as a supplement. Totally cool. I take probiotics myself. And there's a heap of research around the power of probiotics to help improve mood, decrease weight, improve cognitive function, increase immunity. Like taking a probiotic supplement can be a super win-win. The supplement industry is like a wild, wild west. So you want to be careful what you're buying. It doesn't necessarily have to be the $100 a bottle probiotic. Maybe that's the right choice for you if you really have something complicated going on. And I'd encourage you, send me an email, ask me about it. That might be the right choice for some of us. For many of us who just want that general support, we want to reap those general benefits, you just need a good Lactobacillus bifidobacterium blend, and you could look sort of more generically for that, and that would be fine. Including those probiotics is going to help increase serotonin, GABA, dopamine, acetylcholine, tons of our hormones that help with mood. So I hope that answered some of the question on prebiotics and probiotics. I'll say mindfulness is actually really awesome for our gut and our gut bugs. Including those moments of mindfulness and slowing down and practicing meditation. All of this decreases our cortisol, it decreases our inflammation, and it really helps a healthier gut population thrive. It decreases IBS symptoms. It decreases binge eating events or episodes. Like including a mindfulness practice is really a powerful step we can make to support our gut health. And I encourage all of you. And again, I have recorded meditations, so just ping me if you'd like one. I'm happy to send you one to start with. Many of us already have a practice in place, and just encouraging us to continue with that. It's going to increase our serotonin, decrease the emotional eating, and help support our healthy, happy gut bugs. So let's do it. Oh, time is so short. I'm trying to track any of the questions that come in and kind of respond to them as we go. Please, there's only like 5 more minutes, so if you have a question you want to get on the screen and ask, or a comment you want to get on the screen and ask, now's the time to raise your hand and get in that queue. I will definitely get there. Last thing I'll say before getting to the quick short summary is go outside and play in the dirt. Expose yourself to natural healthy microbes. Those are going to be a benefit to you, and they're going to help you feel relaxed and just have that lowering of our stress, lowering of our cortisol, support of our gut bugs. Go play in the dirt. That's my final suggestion. Eat something fermented. Eat vegetables and legumes today. and take good care of yourself. Let's get a couple of these questions on June.
Hi.
Hi, good to see you. Wait. There you are.
Oh, geez, there you go. Okay, hi, I'm June. Oh, yes, thank you, Lulu. I made it late, but I made it once again. Not as late as last time, though. So, yeah, my question is about the probiotics supplements. Anything specific that you suggest for somebody that's kind of broke? Yeah, because I definitely feel like, at least at first, supplements will be good. And I used to get them from a company called It Works, which is like a marketing company. And I liked those, but I can't quite afford those anymore. And on the shelf, I'm not sure what's the right thing. And I think you even said it's like the Wild Wild West. There's so many to choose from, and I understand that some of them are not even, like, they don't really even have what you want. So, yeah, what do you suggest for supplements? Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, dear. Bye. I'm good at cutting people off real quick at the end. Nice to see you, June. Yeah, you know what? I would suggest going to iherb.com. If you're here in Australia, go to iherb.com.au. That's an online supplement distributor. You could look for PB8 or Now, N-O-W, Now Foods. Either of those brands are reputable, they're fine, they're reliable, but they're also very affordable. And you're looking for like a general lactobacillus bifidobacterium blend, like anything that's like gut health, kind of general blend. And really encouraging people, keep it clean. Don't go for the ones that add on a trillion other different minerals and herbs and blah, 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 because then you start looking at drug-nutrient interactions and other things as well. But just for this purposes, a general lactobacillus bifidobacterium blend, PB8 is good, Now Foods is good, and they're super cheap. So take a look at that, iherb.com. I have no stock in the company. Maybe I should. But if you have a problem with it, just pop me a note here or at lulucook.gutfeelingcoaching.com. Good luck. Get some probiotics. It's good stuff. All right. Let's bring Casey on. Let's bring Casey on again.
Good to see you. Casey, alcoholic. I didn't really have a question, but I wanted to comment on something that you said. Back whenever I had my 6-month relapse over a year ago now. I get a year on Thursday, so that's awesome. During my 6-month relapse, I started to have, stomach issues. And mainly because of the alcohol, which whenever you said that made so much sense. And no wonder I was depressed because of the serotonin. Duh, no wonder. But my doctor put me on a Fodmap diet. And so I wanted to share that experience with
Format or Fodmap?
Works.
Format or Fodmap?
Fodmap, sorry.
Okay, yeah.
I can't. Fodmap. Yeah. Sorry, I'm Texan. I have an accent. So you can't always understand what I'm saying. But that worked for me. My doctor put me on it, and and I was still drinking at that time, though. And so I did the Fodmap and eliminated foods and then slowly brought them back in. And I found out what I was sensitive to, which turned out to be dairy. But then I stopped drinking, and that cut out almost all of it. And so, but the Fodmap diet does work. It may not, it may not work for some people, but it did work for me. So that's just my experience of it. So thank you, Lulu. I didn't really have a question, but glad to see you. Thanks for the information. Thanks.
Oh, so good. Thanks for hopping on and sharing that. Yeah, the Fodmap diet is really powerful for people with digestive issues, in part because it strips things so clean at the offset, and it strips out so many of those high fiber foods, because remember, the high fiber foods are feeding different populations of gut bugs. So we strip tons of those out to a really clean, really simple diet. You have to be willing to suck that up for a little while, but then adding them back in slowly one by one lets lets you identify what your particular challenge areas are, like you said with the dairy. So there's just a ton of research behind Fodmaps, and there's a lot of ways to do it wrong. It's a little bit complicated to do it in a way that's going to give you the information you want. A little bit complicated, good place to get some support. Yeah. So it's straight up 12 p.m. and a good meeting starts on time and ends on time. I know this was a ton of information. I have some follow-up topics here. We'll talk about gastric bypass on an upcoming meeting. We'll dive in a little bit more on, well, we didn't talk about weight. Maybe we'll do weight next week. I want to be able to give you guys that information about what to look forward to next week, so you can figure out, is that the meeting for me, or is it one I want to share with other people? We'll do weight next week, and then maybe the week following that we'll do gastric bypass. So come back next week. If you've got questions or follow-ups from this one, you can put in a chat. I'm going to leave this live for a little bit longer to pick up any chats that come through. Email me, lulu@gutfeelingcoaching.com, or go to my website, go to my Facebook page, Gut Feeling Coaching, or Gut Feeling Nutrition Therapy. Get on my email list. I send out high-quality content. And happy to continue these discussions. I want this to be useful for you guys. I love doing it. I love connecting with you around this stuff. Food is medicine. It's so healing and awesome. And we can feel great in our recovery. So thank you. I'm a minute late ending now. Hope to see a lot of you guys again next week. Thank you. I don't know how to end the meeting. Oh, there it is.